Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of Liberal White Dudes. I am Andrew.
I'm Jared.
And I'm AJ.
And we are, and continue to be, Liberal White Dudes. Tonight's episode is called Friggin' Harry Potter. If you missed the first 20 minutes of our show, we'll be talking about Harry Potter. If you've watched our entire catalog, you may recall our friggin' Star Wars episode, which along the same vein. But first, George Floyd's murderer was found guilty.
Convicted.
Yeah.
Yes.
On all three counts that he was charged with. Good.
Yeah.
Will it lead to
good,
any sort of reform? Will it put, cops who've been murdering folks on notice?
Right.
Will qualified immunity be revisited?
It's really hard to know if any of that stuff's going to have any trickle down effect, to be honest. I want to be hopeful about that. Not that,
optimism was our last episode.
Get us anywhere, but good point. But you know what I'm saying? Like I hope, I hope that that's the case, and we'll see how it works out. I know there's some stuff flying around. There's like a George Floyd policing bill or something like that that's going around right now. So we'll see how that stuff shakes out.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how that progresses.
Yeah, I just think it is important to recognize that I saw a lot of posts and a lot of people are like, "Oh, finally justice." It's like, justice is not the right word. I don't think, in my view.
It was, if and again, was it a foregone conclusion that he would be found guilty on any of the three counts, much less all of them? No.
Right.
Not at all. Yeah.
That's terrible. I mean, if we can't find that guy guilty, what are we even doing? Obviously.
Yeah.
So that's
I feel
something.
just beyond that.
But
I just feel like
not. Go ahead.
It's just that there's a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, it's justice," and it's like, when you look at what it took just for one cop to get held accountable for the murder of another individual, when you look at everything it took just to even get to that point, it's like, that's not really justice. It took all of this just to hold one guy.
It's accountability.
Yeah. It's like there's a video. There is, audio, there's eyewitness accounts. There were protests in the streets.
Millions marched.
Yeah,
all over
across the world. There were, for months. And then again.
Yeah.
And then again.
Yeah.
And then a guy was found guilty.
Right. To hold one uniformed officer accountable.
Is that for every, and we've had plenty of cases since then where that's not the case.
The problem, the systemic problem that we have, because just as, Derek Chauvin's conviction was being handed down, another police shooting was taking place.
Yeah.
For an unarmed person of color. So it's really, obviously, we have a long way to go. And I think I read somewhere this was the first time in Minnesota history that a police officer was convicted of murder while on duty. Literally ever. The first time ever a cop has been convicted of murder while on duty.
That's not nothing, history. I guess. I mean, it's shocking.
Right.
Not in the sense maybe that it should be, it's in the sense that really, because I'm sure it's happened plenty.
Right. So I think that kind of speaks more to the overall issue. But I mean, obviously, good result.
Yeah.
For that verdict.
Yeah. Not upset.
Right.
and I thankfully travel in circles where I didn't hear anyone upset.
Right.
So
That's
that's kind of nice for me.
Yeah, true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? Yeah. So yeah, there's that.
For the record, Brett Favre, the verdict, I think. So if you're a Brett Favre fan, think about it. I don't know.
I'm not, thankfully.
No, nor am I.
All right. So I mean, that's just a thing, and we'll continue to talk about and hope and follow, what happens with policing in this country. Not enough so far. So, maybe we'll get to some. I don't know what we need. Again, like there's separate debates behind policing, gun control, police brutality. Like there's so many layers to this cake that we seem to make no progress on, regardless of the number of atrocities that we have in this country. So I guess
I just feel like it's
maybe 300 episodes from now. Maybe 300 episodes from now, we'll see. We'll be like, this was enough.
Yep.
It's not enough now. Maybe down the line.
That cop shot 4 people of color unarmed. Then went into an elementary school, murdered everyone there, and then went and chanted, "All lives matter, and we should all have guns." Maybe something will happen.
Maybe
Like that's
down the line.
future
Maybe
episode.
someday we'll see some change. Maybe one would hope.
Yeah. Oof. So anyway, good. Whatever.
Well, it's like you said, Andrew. I feel like I think it's like the strategy almost would need to be able to move chess pieces at the same time. It's like we can't gain ground in one area because it's opposed so strongly from the other side in such a sad and kind of disgusting way.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it comes to these things, just so that it makes it not only very frustrating, but like you said, near impossible to progress. But I mean, obviously.
The Patriots on the other side who talk about a civil war, and they talk about all kinds of that kind of stuff, and it's just like, shut up, you're dumb. But then they say stuff like, "You'll get my gun when you pry it from my cold dead hands," and I'm like, well.
I mean,
so I gotta I gotta flip flop on that.
While we're brainstorming, throwing out ideas.
Quick top of the conversation for friggin' Harry Potter. Moving into the main meat of our show, we talked a little bit about on the celebrity episode. Separating the art from the artist, and depending on the transgression or whoever they are. Some people can do that, some people can't. I do with Harry Potter. So we're not going to readdress J.K. Rowling on this particular episode. Or Tom Cruise, or Bill Cosby, or Kevin Spacey. Or Louis C.K.
Michael Jackson.
Or Michael Jackson. Or any of the people that you may or may not
controversial celebrities.
Separate their art from their artists. Right.
Yeah.
So, friggin' Harry Potter. Favorite movie, AJ, go.
Prisoner of Azkaban. No question.
No question. And why?
There's a couple things. I mean, first of all, it's my favorite, or one of my favorite books in the series. Not my favorite book, but one of my favorite books in the series. I think the biggest draw for me for the film for Prisoner is that it's directed by Alfonso Cuarón, which I think is just a really great director. I'm a big fan of his, and I like everything he did with the flick. I mean, he left out some things if you're a book faithful, obviously. But I think he did a really good job with the source material. It's really spooky. It's a really spooky book, and it comes out as a really spooky flick, which I really appreciate. So I'm a big fan.
What do you find spooky?
Well, okay, so Prisoner of Azkaban already has kind of a dark.
Is that the first
layer
is that
to
the
it?
first appearance of the Dementors?
It is.
It is, right?
It is.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
And that kicks off on the train in the beginning, if memory serves.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly right.
So it's kind of it's the point in the film series where it tends to turn almost away from being like kids movies and start to turn towards a little more into the fantasy genre, a little more into the borderline horror genre, if that's your bag. So I like that. It was kind of a turn for the films.
Could be argued that the Dementors
Also,
are the creepiest thing in the history in the entire the Harry Potter universe.
Yeah,
I mean they are
spooky as all get out.
Yeah, I mean they're just Grim Reaper style, faceless.
Suck your soul out of your body.
Like Lord of the Rings
Emotionless.
has a similar, scythe carrying, dead horse riding, creepy thing.
The raids.
Things that don't talk to you but want to kill you, seem invincible.
Yeah, scary shit.
Yeah,
just super scary. Prisoner of Azkaban has some really cool stuff in it, especially from the horror elements. I think you're right about the whole turning point thing. Definitely a transition genre-wise.
Yeah. and some fun characters too. It's a really fun film, fun story, fun book. I really like that book, so I really like the film.
How about you, Jared? Favorite movie?
I liked Order of the Phoenix a lot. As a movie. I liked Order of the Phoenix a lot.
Least favorite. Oh no, that's not my least favorite. Sorry, never mind. Not least favorite. We almost had beef.
Almost had beef. No, but yeah, Order of the Phoenix. I just like. I really like. I'm a big fan of like everybody together movies. Like some of the Avengers really hit that note for me. There's something about like the disparate stories of a bunch of different people all coalescing into one thing that happens all at the same time. That I really like. And Order of the Phoenix did some of that by bringing all the characters, you know, sort of in together to sort of plan and work forward in their story. It had a lot of cool action sequences that I liked a lot. Lots of good like fights with bad guys, you know. One of the first like it's not the first big fight with bad guys, but like that scene in the bank or whatever where they're all like
that's a dope scene.
Slinging. It's just sick. Like that's awesome. Good combination
I think
of all
it's
the character types and stuff.
Yeah. The thing I like about that too is similar to Prisoner, but even on a bigger scale, is that it's more mature content. It's really a turning point in the story. It's really a more mature, like, you know, Harry Potter really starts dealing with like life and death with his friends, with his enemy, you know what I mean? And it's so, you know, it's kind of in the way that Prisoner kind of starts to turn it from being just like a children's fantasy story to like more serious content. I think Order of the Phoenix kind of does that too with like a more mature themes. You know, Harry's dealing with a lot more. All of them are dealing with a lot more mature stuff, and so it's more interesting hair. Films from that. You know,
and
yeah, you know,
deepening of their voices. Harry Potter,
Order of the
puberty.
Yeah.
When like their friends start dying. Like,
mature content. You know, what is more mature content? It's hard to know.
Right.
Is the first big character death in the fourth one? Is that the first big character death?
That's
that sounds right.
People die because of the basilisk, or they're just like frozen and then fixed.
Yeah, nobody dies because of the basilisk.
No one. Yeah, no main character.
Also,
only,
spoiler
like,
alert.
Characters.
Big spoiler warning for everybody who hasn't.
No one should
watch be
watching
this episode
if you haven't read or.
Nobody should watch this if you haven't seen Harry Potter. It feels like it should be said. I'm gonna say it at this point. But yeah, no, I don't think anybody dies from the basilisk. I think that it just like I think it petrifies a couple of people.
Yeah.
But I think they get better over time, like after the thing dies. Yeah.
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 So yeah, biggest character death in the fourth one. And then fifth one.
Yeah, I think that's the first time. Well, I mean, if you don't count his parents.
I don't.
In the first one.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's very. I mean, I know this was like Warner Brothers, but like, you know, that's very Disney. Like, that's a still, you know, Disney hates parents.
Yeah,
like,
it doesn't really count as like.
Yeah, it's not. That's not an origin story.
Oh,
your parents are dead. Like, whatever. That's true of everybody.
We hadn't met them. Yeah, everybody's parents are dead.
Yeah, that's just the thing.
Get over your dead parents.
Yeah, for real. Like Tarzan or like literally everybody. It's a good pick, right?
Yeah, I think the fourth one is the first time that a main character, because I think that before that it was just kind of like setting stuff up. Like we don't have a lot of interaction with Voldemort prior to that, you know.
Yeah.
But that one it really starts to sink in.
Yeah, my favorite film is probably the second one. I really liked Chamber of Secrets.
Really?
Yeah, mostly because I really liked the first one. I liked the introduction of a bunch of things that I, you know, sort of hadn't seen before. Just the world that was created. I even liked the idea of the school and just like training to be better at being a magical person. Like that whole idea. Was cool.
The concept is cool.
Yeah, and the second one, you know, the spiders, like they for me rival the Dementors as being the scariest thing in the entire Harry Potter universe. Very realistic.
Giant spiders can fuck off.
Yeah. Not that Lord of the Rings didn't also have a giant spider.
It did.
Not saying that's what her source material is or anything, but.
Sidebar, if you ever visit Universal Studios and ride the Forbidden Journey, they use giant practical effect spiders, and it's scary as shit.
Ooh, that sounds spooky as all get out.
Yeah.
Haven't you rode that, Jared?
Yeah.
What's?
Oh, I don't know if Jared has. Jared, have you ridden
Have
it?
if I have, I don't remember that instance of it. It's possible.
I know I
Forbidden
haven't.
Journey is
My
a
memory is
dope
bad.
ride.
Because I'm too big and fat for that ride. Yeah, that's true. They were like, hey, you're too big and fat for this. And I was like, oh, bummer. I wish I had waited in that line.
That's a bummer.
That should have been something you told me back there. Hey, I must be not this big and fat to ride this ride.
It's like Kevin Smith on that plane.
Yeah, for real. Like tell somebody.
But yeah. Tell the guy.
Yeah. Too much to ask.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked the whole thing with Tom Riddle.
Yeah.
I liked the whole spider thing. Bye, friend of Hagrid. That whole business was great. I thought that Ron Weasley did a good job of encapsulating the kind of fear that you might feel in that kind of. I called him by his character name.
Scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hats off to Rupert Grint.
Rupert Grint.
Rupert Grint.
Killed it.
Yeah. So I think my favorite is probably the second one. Least favorite movie, AJ.
Goblet of Fire, without a doubt. Yeah.
Samesies.
Yeah, Goblet is.
Why for you?
Yeah, same.
Yeah. It's a very simple reason, and it's a similar reason to probably you could apply to a lot of Star Wars films. It should have been the best film in the series, and it was the worst film in the series, and that makes it doubly disappointing. When you look at the book is massive. That should have been a 3-hour fucking spectacle. Goblet of Fire is a dope book, and it is so watered and stripped down, and it's just so disappointing. And on top of that, it's a lame-ass movie. And comparing to what it'd be different if the book was kind of and so the flick was like, well, they did what they could. But it's like, no, the source material, when it comes to the Harry Potter series, in my view, Goblet of Fire is one of the best books, and it's dope. And they just didn't execute at all. Worst execution. I was so disappointed.
What specifically did you love about the book that was not like in the movie?
There are massive sections of the biggest thing is the tournament. There are massive sections of the tournament that are not included.
That were fun and exciting in the book.
Yeah, that would have been things that sense to put in. I don't know. There's so many things. They just kind of every event that takes place in the film in the tournament is just a fraction of what took place in the books, and so there was just so much more depth to each challenge, and it could have been just a bigger spectacle. It's just such a letdown.
Yeah,
it's such a letdown.
As someone who didn't read the books, I established very clearly in our anti-racism episode that I don't read. So as someone who didn't read the books, I will tell you the reason I didn't like the fourth one was that I felt like they had sort of I'm kind of a formula guy. Like I'm a guy who still watches Law and Order SVU. Some kids are walking along, coming home drunk. They find somebody who's been assaulted or dead. And then the cops come in, they find whoever did it. Done, they're done, right? The Harry Potter series seemed like there's a bunch of magical folks. They go to school, something happens, they fight it, whatever. They win. Credits. And this was like, we're not going to school. We're not going to introduce really anything of value. Let's watch the Wizard Olympics with some events you don't care about.
Yeah.
And then credits.
The thing
and
that
I was like, what?
And then don't even watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing that I remember about the book is that everything that took place, there was some underpinning that like mattered to the future events of the books. Like it was like, oh, that thing seems like it's going to matter later. Like that was kind of like that was very much the sort of mood of the book. I feel like was like, oh, this is going to matter at some point. Well, that's going to matter at some point. Like just like sort of they sprinkle stuff. It's like a bread trail as a book.
Yeah.
But I think that the movie didn't necessarily do quite as well. It was just kind of like, sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And
it's like you said, Andrew. Yeah, they didn't really tie it back into the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it all seemed, pretty irrelevant. Like I wouldn't watch, Luke and Leia play tag. I mean, I don't know. Like I try to think of a good,
Because like,
like-
because the thing too, to draw parallel within its own series, is that the Quidditch scenes.
Playing tag.
The Quidditch
Yeah.
scenes are dope. The
Yeah.
sequences where they play like against like Slytherin
Yeah.
and stuff, it's like that. But the reason it's there is to drive plot further and to connect the characters together in a way that's interesting, right? Like build that competitive sort of mindset against the characters against each other, right? Whereas it was like, hey, here's a bunch of characters you've never met before. You know, like to play against your guys, I guess.
I mean, I know we're complaining about the sports in the film, but it bothers the shit out of me that we didn't even get to see the World Cup of Quidditch. I mean, they make Quidditch such a big deal in the books, right? And it appears so much in the films. The opening of Goblet of Fire, Harry is attending the Quidditch World Cup. So the biggest Quidditch event in the universe of Harry Potter, and they don't show you the match. Like, they're like
Just
cheering, and then it starts, and then it cuts to them celebrating in a tent. You're like, you're not even going to 20 minutes to get to this match, and you're not even going to show us the Quidditch.
Like even a little bit?
Like
a little bit?
I was already out.
Quidditch?
Yeah, no.
Just a little montage.
Yeah. Nothing. Montage,
Yeah, just play a little bit of Eye of the Tiger, and you know,
Yeah.
have somebody
Give us
get
the Rocky theme.
bludgered or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. So, yeah. Disappointing.
Yeah. Favorite character from the series? AJ, go. Nope. Jared, go.
Oh no, you
Ooh.
can't pivot to me. Can't pivot to me. I'm not prepared for this.
I'll go first. You want me to go
no.
first?
Sure.
Cool. I like that.
Favorite character
yeah, do
from
that.
the series? Mad Eye Moody, which is kind of funny because he appears first in the
Cool.
fourth film.
The fourth film, yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
point.
but he had David Tennant inside of him, if you know what I mean. And
He did. You're right. Wait, actually, you're right about that.
I am.
forgot
You
about
are
that
right.
entirely.
yeah,
I forgot
that's-
that David Tennant was in those films, so that's something that often eludes my memory. You're
yeah,
right.
that's how he was introduced. But yeah, I like the curmudgeonness of that character. Like sort of seems like he doesn't want to be there, but he's like doing stuff. I don't know. I also really like Brendan Gleeson, so yeah, just maybe part of it. Maybe just
I love
pulling
Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
pulling
Yeah.
my feelings for him into that character as well. But yeah, Mad Eye Moody.
I think I have mine prepped now. I took a minute to think about
He's
it.
also a
it.
fat white
I
guy.
am.
Jared, do it.
He also is a fat white guy. That's true. I am very fond of.
Good identify.
Yeah.
That's
That's exactly. I like to be represented.
Represented in the films. The twins. I know they're not.
No,
Two
that's a great
characters
choice.
technically. I know the two
Great
technical
choice.
characters technically, but they're always together and they always sort of do their thing. I don't have one preference over the other. I enjoy them both. Just because I am very fond of that sort of energy that's sort of like passively chaotic, but also like not so much that it really disrupts anything else that's going on, outside of like their big spectacle they do with the big fireworks and stuff. Just
The
like a little-
Weasley twins.
The Weasley twins. Yeah, sorry if I didn't
Yeah,
clarify.
like
Yeah, for some
like
reason I was
Fred and
thinking about
George. Yeah.
the
Fred and
twin
George, yeah.
girls that Harry and Ron take to the dance or whatever. Aren't they twins?
No,
They
not
are.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
but
are.
not them.
Yeah,
Not
for
them.
some
Sorry,
reason you said the
yeah.
twins. That's who I thought of. You're like the sort of chaotic energy, and I was like, really? I mean,
They danced chaotically.
they didn't dance
you're
at all.
like,
relating
because
to
the
that.
guys would dance.
They talk
with
about it a
them
lot in
and-
the book.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe they just like have this whole side
Right.
story that I'm unaware of. They have like 1,000 pages of the fifth book.
Of
It's
the twins.
just those
No,
twins.
no, no. Fred and
okay.
George, the
gotcha,
Weasley twins.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Other than their big spectacle towards the end, obviously, a lot of the stuff they were doing was just very like like eat this candy that makes your nose bleed. Like
Yeah.
they're just really dumb, tiny, like little stuff throughout the series, and their lines were always really funny to me. Lots of good dialogue and funny things to say, which I appreciate a lot in the characters that I watch. So that's probably mine. If I had to pick.
I mean, I'd have to go with, Dumbledore, probably. I mean, there's a few I could pick, but I'd go with Albus Dumbledore for a lot of reasons. Obviously, he's a kick-ass character, and really provides that like fatherly figure that I really like to see in a story. The right kind of like, I don't know. He always in both the books and the films. I think he's played in the films in the same way that he's written in the books, which is just as a very strong leader and just kind of endless compassion, like the kind of person you just like strive to be that no one ever gets to be. So kind of like a big hero in my view. So of the series. So Dumbledore, like hands down. Also, I mean, it's not mentioned very much, but there is J.K. Rowling herself has come out and said that Dumbledore is gay, which I think that's good representation. And I think there's a lot of layers to Dumbledore's past with Grindelwald and stuff. So I think it's just all fascinating. He's definitely my favorite character.
If I had gone third, I would have said Lucius Malfoy. Just to see how you guys responded to that.
Just give that as our take. Yeah,
my favorite character, Lucius Malfoy.
I like how authoritarian he is.
Yeah.
I mean, how much he hits his house elves. That's
exactly. He keeps his house elves in place.
I just based on what Draco says a lot, I feel like he spends a majority of his time sitting around waiting for his son to tell him about things, because Draco says a lot that he's gonna bother about stuff. So like I feel like he spends way too much time hearing about stuff from Draco.
Inordinate amount of time listening to his son.
Yeah.
But
like,
knowing,
Draco will be like,
go ahead.
My father hears about this, and then he does. He has to hear about it.
Yeah, it's like you feel a little pain as a parent. You feel a little pain for Lucius Malfoy in those moments when Draco says, "My father's gonna hear about this." You just go, ugh.
He's gonna hear
I'm
about
sure
that
he
shit.
is.
Yeah.
Just like over dinner, ruin a perfectly good
Oh my God.
eel soup.
Roast or whatever.
I assume they eat eel soup.
Yeah.
I don't know what they eat the Malfoy household, to be honest. Yeah.
Hippogriff roast, whatever, something mean.
Yeah, something
mean.
mean.
Food that's mean.
Something mean to eat. Yeah.
Food that's sad.
whatever endangered entree they have for the evening.
Whatever the veal equivalent of a hippogriff is, the baby hippogriff. It's that.
Baby hippogriff, the saddest food.
Yeah.
Raised in a cage.
Just
tortured.
Yeah. By the time Draco was 30, they were straight up just eating house elves. Like they were like, we're done pretending.
Yikes. All right. Anything else in the world of Harry Potter you want to touch on?
Aren't there least favorite characters? Do we have least favorite characters prepped for this?
It end up being just evil characters, I think. Ultimately,
true.
Depending on how you look at it, or whiny characters, like the
what?
Dursleys.
Yeah.
Fuck the Dursleys.
I mean,
That's a good point.
Unnecessary.
Yeah. I have a T-shirt that says that somewhere. Or I should at least.
It's on our liberal white dude's website, lwdshop.com. Don't really go there. That's a fake website.
It doesn't exist.
They're gonna go there and find like Russian dungeon porn.
It's probably like liberal white dicks or something. And it's gonna be like all porn.
That's our bad.
Yeah, don't send them to that dildo shop.
So no, that's not a real website. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I love Harry Potter. I have a tattoo.
Liberal too. It's just the D that changes.
Yep.
See if I can get it in here. I actually have a Harry Potter tattoo.
93
6
Yeah.
and
Nah, it's upside down. Hold on.
There you go.
there we go.
Nice.
Yeah.
In frame.
Yeah. Big fan in our household. My wife and I and our kids. So big fan of the material.
Yeah, and if you get a chance to go to Universal Studios and see the stuff, I mean, it is impressive.
Dude, do it.
I mean,
some butter beer in you.
Yeah, I mean, going into the candy shop, which I'm forgetting the name of all of a sudden, and getting your wand picked out for you.
Honeydukes. Yeah.
Going into Honeydukes, getting your wand picked out for you. I mean, it is kind of a fun experience if you enjoy the films.
Yeah.
Plus the big thing of Hogwarts, like it was like very cool, you know.
I will say this too: if you do go to Universal Studios and you do go to Ollivanders and buy a wand, there are 2 different wands you can get. You can get your regular run-of-the-mill wand. Actually, there's 3 wands. You can get your regular run-of-the-mill wand. You can get like a replica wand, like Harry's wand, or you can get an interactive wand. I recommend the interactive wand. The child in you, and then your actual child will obviously enjoy it. The interactive wand has different spots all over the park where you can wave the wand in the right way in front of like a store window and magical things happen.
Yeah.
So if you want to, freak your
That's pretty
5-year-old
fun.
out,
But save up.
it's dope.
Those are not cheap.
Yeah.
As with any
Save
trip
up.
to a large theme
Right.
park-esque
Yeah.
thing.
Bring several
Make sure it's in
$1,000s for that trip.
Make sure it's in the budget. It's like going to Europe. Like plan to go to Europe and then go there instead.
Yeah. The chat
and
wants
by the
us to
way-
know 12 minutes after we said it. Honeydukes is the
Honeydukes.
name of the candy shop.
Honeydukes is the name of the place. Good.
She just say, you beat me to it.
Yeah, she did say that, but
Yeah, but if you're at Universal, I mean, Harry Potter Land's great, but definitely ride Simpsons because that's a dope ride too. I mean, there's a lot to do at Universal.
Yeah. I recommend Universal Studios. Yeah, it's pretty fun, especially if you can ride the Jurassic Park ride at night, and you dressed for daytime, and they soak you with cold water, and then you walk out and you're freezing. You can get yourself a $340 sweatshirt.
Yeah, $2 million
in the
Jurassic
gift
Park
shop.
jacket.
So they shut it down for a while though because they revamped it to Lost World, and I think that's open now. I wonder if you still get wet. I haven't been there to ride it, but my next trip there, that's the first thing on the list.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's currently open.
Check that out. Yeah, I don't think it is yet.
Yeah.
COVID. But
COVID.
But we are vaccinated on this show.
Yeah.
by the way, and you should get vaccinated too.
Yeah, do
everybody.
it.
Get
Do
out
it. Get
there
an
and
appointment. Get an appointment. Get it vaccinated.
Get yourself
It's good.
vaccinated.
It's good for your brain. It's good for your soul.
Was Harry Potter vaccinated? I feel like that's,
Was Harry Potter's mom an anti-vaxxer?
Yeah.
We'll never know.
I feel like, yeah,
Unless she
maybe.
died, so that's
Yeah,
the
she
thing
died,
we'll
so we
never
can't ask
know.
her. But
Dursleys were
We're the
definitely
Dursleys.
anti-vaxxers.
Yeah, the Dursleys are QAnon. If
Yeah.
I had to guess, like the Dursleys,
Yeah, full Q.
draw
Like-
real life parallels. Yeah.
Yeah.
straight up, like what's their son? He's a proud boy. I don't know.
Dudley, yeah.
Dudley, yeah, he's a proud boy. Sure.
Yeah, least favorite character is probably just the have to write with your own blood lady, Umbridge.
Umbridge, yeah.
Yeah,
And not
Umbridge
because
the
the
worst.
portrayal isn't good, because it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The character's written well, and the portrayal's fantastic. You really hate
Yeah,
her.
it makes you want to punch her in the face the
Yeah.
entire time she's on screen.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah,
It's a good
nice,
job.
nice job, and you feel like great when she gets played with,
Yeah.
by the
I-
big baby in the woods.
Yeah, I think universally fans hate her more than Voldemort, which has been like a common thread. Is that Voldemort would seemingly be your most hated character? It's like not so.
Nah.
Just like in
Not
many ways,
so.
I respect
Darth
what
Vader
he's
and-
doing in a lot of respects. I just mean from a standpoint of he's an all-powerful wizard who wants to take over the world. He's just
Right,
evil,
right.
right? It's not
Yeah.
like from
Chaotic evil.
yeah, not from a as malicious place, it seems like, which is weird to say, I guess, but
Yeah, it's just like he
guess-
kills people because it's like how he is. It's not like
Yeah.
he kills people because he's like also really mean and like horrendous like she is.
yeah,
She's got like
Well,
she's
how do you-
giggly about it.
So here's my question.
comes
Though.
from
Yeah.
a
So
real
here's the thing.
Sadist.
Part of yeah. So is it that he's kind of like some men just want to watch the world burn, like he doesn't care, or is it? I mean, he wants control, obviously. So like he doesn't want everyone to die. He wants
No.
like
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he wants
For me,
minions.
it seems ritualistic almost. Like the stuff that he does feels like a very like, just because of how old he is, maybe.
Okay.
Just
not
very-
to get off to different media, but like Thanos was kind of very indiscriminately killing, right? Like he was
Yeah.
kind of like chips fall where they may killing.
Yeah.
But
I'm a
like, when you
Thanos
look at, like,
sympathizer as well, so I guess maybe.
when you look at like the Malfoys, for example, and their stance on purebloods. I mean, how much of
Yeah.
that lines up with Voldemort's thing? Is
Yeah.
Voldemort a Nazi?
Right.
Like it's
He didn't seem
Yeah.
as much about that.
right.
I mean,
Didn't
to
mention
me.
it as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what we see on screen, he didn't seem to be following that line as much as the Malfoys were.
Yeah.
In some ways, it makes me dislike the Malfoys more for that.
Right.
It's weird because it's like I get what you mean by saying that you can respect it to a certain level because you can. Like that's just how that's just what he believes in. It's
He's
not like
an
he's like a
all-powerful
horrendous-
wizard who wants to be in control of the world
Yeah.
that he
Yeah,
lives
and
in.
while I hate that
Well,
about him,
Sure.
and also there's a certain respectability to not just being a horrendous human being. Like for like what Umbridge was doing, it was just like she was
Yeah.
just like malicious as all get out.
Yeah.
Like that's not like where's that coming from? That's not just like you
Right.
trying to enact your will. That's just you seeing things in pain and being like, yeah, that's my bag. It's like,
Yep.
Well,
you need to think about that bit.
And something else to keep in mind is that Voldemort himself, Tom Riddle, was not a pureblood. His dad was Muggle. So, again, kind of like Hitler, maybe in a way, where it's like he didn't even really align with the thing he thought was the best thing. Kind of a little self-hatred, little self-loathing. Layers to Tom Riddle there.
Yeah.
But Umbridge, yeah, she's a piece of shit. So
She's just terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, so she might be my least favorite from that standpoint, but not from a God, get them off the screen. I hate that. Not like a Jar Jar Binks, where you're just like, God, that's the worst character.
Yeah, God, just like question.
Yeah, it's like Dobby. A bad villain.
Really,
Dobby.
You hate Dobby?
I love Dobby in the books because I love the character of Dobby, and Dobby does come back in certain heroic fashions in the films, but for the most part, just the actor, however they decided to go about it. I don't have a problem with the character. It's not like Jar Jar, which is completely unnecessary. Dobby's a necessary component, but the execution is a get him off the screen for me. I really have a hard time with Dobby. In execution, he's my Jar Jar. But obviously it's necessity to the story.
Yeah, plot wise,
he's a good character. Yeah. And house elves are great characters. Just the way they play Dobby, man, bothers me.
Puts me off. Yeah. I also really like Professor Trelawney, if I may. Put it forward another character that I very much enjoyed.
Oh yeah,
series. Professor Trelawney was great.
I mean, her energy, the incomparable Emma Thompson. Like, that's a good start.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
good good baseline.
You have people in your real life who probably she reminds you of as well, so that's a
good point. Yeah, I do. There are people that I know that very much remind me of that lady, so it does help that there's some real life comparison there. But yeah, I enjoyed Professor Trelawney's character.
Can we just say actually, there's some. You just brought up a good point though with Emma Thompson, right? Or is Trelawney?
Thompson,
yeah, and like. They pulled a few really good actors for like smaller one film kind of appearances. Like who played Lockhart?
I know who you're talking about. I don't remember his name though.
Rachel knows. He was in Wild Wild West with Kevin Kline and Will Smith. He is the guy who always plays a Nazi, even though he's an English actor. Why is his name not coming to me?
Kenneth Branagh.
Thank you. Jeez. He always plays a Nazi or a Russian. Like, it's weird how often he does that being an English guy.
But he killed it as Gilderoy Lockhart. He's another one of those. Yeah. Love that.
Lockhart's a really good example too of characters that I like. Characters that like I don't like as characters, but like not in that sort of get off the screen way. Just in like a man. I don't like you very much.
He's straight up terrible. At one point, he was going to leave those kids to die in a cave, disoriented. Like, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But
not out of evil or malice, though.
No, out of necessity.
Exactly. Out of survival and necessity and self-interest. He just comes from a place of, does he want the kids to die? If he had the choice, probably no.
Right.
But
he needs to preserve his way of life.
Right.
His secret.
Yes.
Who he is as a celebrity. It was all on the line. Yeah. And it's just like, I think he really took a Odell Roby from Jackie Brown stance where it's just like, I'm not going to let this guy stand in my way of, $1 million.
Yep.
Do that, I'll kill this N-word and 10 other N-words look just like him. To get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's Lockhart. He's like, I'll kill these bitch kids and 10 other kids look just like him if it means I don't lose this.
Yes.
So, you gotta respect that in a way.
Yeah, and it's not not out of evil or malice. It's just self-interest. He's
a really self-interested guy and a very like sort of in his own head and very like top of the world kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's no moral ambiguity to things that serve his self-interest. Like, I'll do whatever I need to do toward my own goal.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I like a lot
and
about
I know
Harry
people
Potter,
like that too, and I don't like them.
And I don't like them. But but the thing is, she writes characters, or the characters are written so that I like like you can sort of identify them as people that you know, but they're also very caricature-esque, right?
Yeah.
Like there's obviously a layer there that's like obviously for the screen and for, you know, playing it up as fiction and whatever else. But I think it's interesting how many of the characters, even just the passing ones, or like even just the like minor villains, like Lockhart is,
Right.
how much of that is like you can see people you know in that, you know? It's like, man,
Yeah.
you know,
It's a good
that
example
sucks.
of there being a lot of killer and less filler when it comes to a series, which makes it impressive work. Because when you think about the amount of writing it really is, and how much filler you could get away with in a series like that, and there, I mean, the number of, you know, children's or young adult fantasy series books out there is endless. I mean, like there's just so many, and some of them get made into films that are really shitty. But Harry Potter seemed to kind of dodge a lot of the normal pitfalls that come with trying to produce a fantasy series into a film series. And I think it comes from really good source material. Like I said, even with Goblet of Fire, where I think they really screwed the pooch in execution, the source material is so good because I really think that J.K. Rowling took so much care in crafting it that it's kind of hard to miss in a way. So they're kind of all winners to some degree, which I think makes it impressive. Like,
Yeah, that's
how
one of the
you
things
can
I
find
think.
those things. Yeah.
I guess like it's not like Goblet of Fire is an unwatchable movie for reference. I
No,
I
it's
would.
good. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine. So it's not even like the worst movie in this series, in my opinion, anyway. Is fine still. You know, it's not like
Yeah.
you know, it's still
Yeah,
like yeah,
as
I
a
mean,
movie,
yeah,
Yeah, it's
just on its
it's
own.
still
still a
good
Harry Potter
as a movie.
Yeah.
You know,
Right,
as a
yeah.
Harry Potter movie, it's the worst one.
Yeah, it's not fit. It's not filling those shoes, but it is fine as a movie on its own. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel that way about Attack the Clones. That's not a good movie,
No.
Yeah.
much less a good
No.
Star Wars movie. It's not a good movie.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I've actually watched from 5, you know, Order of the Phoenix on a lot less times than I've seen the first 3,
Me too.
because of how 4 was.
Oh, not
I mean,
that,
really,
not
like
that
I feel like
Yeah.
you know, it really soured some of my experience with the rest of them.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have
God
also
damn
been
that
the
movie.
also might have been the age of my kids. Like I was, you know, my kids were of the age where I would watch a Harry Potter movie with them, you know, prior
Yeah.
to that time frame.
Well, of course, being one that has it tattooed on me, you can imagine I'll put a flick on at any old time. Harry Potter
I
wise.
remember I have a
I
very
should probably run
specific
through those
memory
again.
when I was younger. When I was reading, I read through the entire Harry Potter series, and I've read the first 2 books a couple of times. But I remember I had to keep putting down Half-Blood Prince because of the scene where there's like these like zombie things. They're like coming out of like an ocean or something. They're like at a Horcrux, I guess, and like that's like the scene. And every time I started reading, I was like, I have to put this down. This is freaking me out. I'm trying to go to bed right now. Because I was
It's a freaky scene.
Yeah,
It's a freaky scene in the film too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, this is scary. Why am I reading this right now? I had to put it down. And then like later, I was just like, I want to keep reading before bed, but if I try and read this, I'm not going to get through it. So I had to sit down during the day and read it. I was like, I have to read this section now. Otherwise, I'm never going to.
Just as a sidebar, I'm a big fan of that whole nonsense there. I mean, the Horcruxes in general, really great concept.
Yeah.
That particular Horcrux I thought was absolutely fascinating. That entire spell where you know, Dumbledore had to drink the water, and it was just like the most painful, torturous, terrible thing ever. I mean, I think that is, and then no matter what he says, Harry has to keep feeding him the water, and he's literally begging Harry to not. I mean,
Yes.
that's fucked up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Fucked
it is.
up shit, and I love that. I love it. That's
Yeah,
great.
and I think it's very true to life the way that she paints sort of like an evil man who loses some of his soul to Horcruxes. Because that happens in real life too.
Right. It's
So
certainly does. Certainly. On that note, dude.
Yeah.
but yeah, they did a good job with that in the movie too. I mean, the scene is very, you know, you feel his
Hard to watch.
Yeah, agony.
Yeah. Michael Gambon, by the way, huge fan of his Dumbledore. A lot of people got all down about Richard Harris dying and feeling like Michael Gambon didn't do a good job. I've always stood by the fact that I think he did a fantastic job with Dumbledore. I had no issues with it. I don't think he should have tried to imitate Richard Harris at all or try and do what he did. He just did it his way, and I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like it, but I like it.
I thought it was fine. I'm always, you know, the guy died, so what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
It wasn't like Aunt Viv, or you know, new Becky on Roseanne or something. You know,
those are good examples.
Yeah, just
Those
supposed to pretend, yeah, that they're not somebody else, right? Yeah, and it was a bit different, but not bad.
Right. No, I thought he did great.
Yeah.
I don't like him as an actor so much, so.
Yeah. It came off, to me, a little less prestigious, I guess. A little less, you know, a little more playful, which...
That's what people said, I think. Yeah.
But it was fun, you know. It was still Dumbledore, like, whatever. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Guy died.
Yeah, I mean, he died. So... You gonna stop having Harry Potter movies?
Just write them out.
You jerks who are like criticizing a new Dumbledore. Hey.
Yeah, just write out Dumbledore. It's fine. Just guys in Chamber.
I mean,
of
they
Secrets.
do that
this
eventually.
The plot.
Spoilers.
This doesn't mess up the plot at all if we just cut him out here after the second film. Just cut him out.
But
it's
guys.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Just cut to the end. Skip to the end. Man and wife.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else about Harry
five
Potter?
figs for the Harry Potter
Super
series.
important to mention.
Samesies.
5 figs from me as well. More so on the movies than the books because I didn't read the books.
Yeah.
I did have audiobooks read to me for the first 3 years, so something like that.
That's good. That's a good option too. They're really good read on audio as well. If you're not a big reader, I do recommend hopping on Audible or something, and they're fun books. They're really
Jim
good.
Dale kills it. As if you're looking for a specific guy to do it.
He does. Yeah, his is the best.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Little plug for him. He's not a sponsor.
Yeah, no. Just plug in Jim Dale because
his version's really good.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I had to read the first. It's funny. My elementary school experience, we had to. We did like book readings, and I had the same teacher for a lot of the years of my elementary school, and she did the same book readings throughout the years that I was in her class. So I've read the first 2 books of Harry Potter a lot of times. I have read Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets more times than any other book in the rest of the series, because most of them I've read once. Those 2 I've read probably 3 or 4 times each for school.
All right.
That's funny.
But yeah.
Yeah, I know. 5 figs for sure. Love the series.
Reminder that we're here every other Saturday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Subscribe to our YouTube channel here. You can like us over on Facebook, and you can follow us on Twitter, where we are hysterical. Quick apology to AOC.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
As I mentioned, several times previously, that she's not up with our new bi-weekly cadence. She did send me an email and tell me that her favorite character was was Gina Weasley, or was it the
Ginny Weasley?
Yeah, Ginny Weasley.
Gina Weasley.
She
Great
said
character.
Gina, so I don't know how familiar with the series she is, but she's like, yeah.
Maybe she's mocking us. Is she mocking us?
Yeah, that might be part
probably,
of it. Yeah. But we'll try and have her on. Eventually. Once again, thanks for joining us, and have a good night. Liberal white